Before we begin this video, let's take a quick look to see how the new MCU TV series She-Hulk is doing. Oh, okay. So this is where the MCU is at now, huh? Yeah, I know what you're thinking. If only Thanos had continued snapping his finger. Anyway, let's get into the topic of today's video. For many years now, the phrase "get woke, go broke" has been thrown at Hollywood films and television shows that push the message. Now, most everyone despises the way in which popular franchises have been hijacked and vandalized and transformed into vehicles for preachy political statements and lefty identity politics. But despite how unpopular the nauseating and polarizing messages have been,
you've got to do better, Senator.
In these various Hollywood productions, generally speaking, it's been the audiences that have been told that the problem lies with them and not the product. In a recent video by The Critical Drinker called "Batgirl Cancelled, A Sign of Things to Come," he talked about how the cancellation of the Batgirl movie and the possible cancellation of the new Supergirl production could be part of a larger course correction for Warner Brothers, and a sign that they acknowledge that what they've been doing isn't working. Specifically, that the audiences are not responding favourably to wokeness, and that it simply won't generate box office success. So it appears that both Batgirl and Supergirl may have been cancelled in order to prevent further losses while the studio focuses on conducting damage control to the second Aquaman film because the actress Amber Heard is in the movie, and the new Flash film, the latter of which is a concern for the studio given the behind-the-scenes controversies surrounding the primary star, Ezra Miller. Furthermore, as Black Pigeon Speaks pointed out recently in his video, Has Top Gun Doomed Amazon's Lord of the Rings? The success of Top Gun Maverick is also worth consideration. No agendas, no pandering, no moral lecturing, just high-octane, uncompromising action and character-driven quality cinema. It's also grossed over $1.4 billion at the box office. According to Box Office Mojo, it has beaten everything in theaters for 2022 by a solid margin. Jurassic World Dominion is a distant second, followed by Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Then Minions: The Rise of Gru, The Batman, and Thor: Love and Thunder. Imagine that. No big superhero movie at the top spot this year. Just a grounded, real-world, old-school Tom Cruise summer action blockbuster with no cringe and divisive political messaging. How refreshing. Now, it seems like wokeness isn't going anywhere in film and television anytime soon, at least when it comes to the big studios like Disney, because, as the drinker suggested in his video, they seem to be able to afford to make unpopular and ideologically vandalized productions. Warner, on the other hand, may be deciding to step away from making these kinds of films because they simply cannot afford how unprofitable they are. This could be true, and Warner's decision might eventually lead to a paradigm shift across Hollywood, but I would sound a note of caution. Wokeness has been unpopular, but it's been something that studios have clearly accepted as a loss leader. I think the priority with woke films and TV shows has been the message rather than the money. The culturally and ideologically subversive agenda has taken precedence, while profits have taken a back seat. But for how much longer? How much longer will Hollywood continue this trend? How much longer can they afford to do this? Even Disney, with all of their financial might, will eventually begin to feel the pinch. Like I say, the MCU, their biggest cash cow franchise, is no longer number one at the box office. Although, to be fair, that's not all down to wokeness, because not all recent MCU films have been woke. The fact that the MCU films are not utterly dominating the box office right now, like they used to, could also simply be down to the fact that there's been a lot of superhero movie fatigue lately, and the Marvel Cinematic Universe films, in particular, have saturated the market in recent years. And I think it has to be said that since Endgame in 2019, it just feels like the MCU's best days are behind it, and the stories are starting to become a bit tired and just generally uninteresting. Nevertheless, for roughly 6 years now or so, some of us have been talking about how if you get woke, you'll eventually go broke. But so far, it just hasn't really happened to the degree that some of us had anticipated. Yes, some movies like Ghostbusters 2016 have bombed at the box office, and 2019's Terminator Dark Fate was a similar failure. Some TV shows like Batwoman, for example, were cancelled, and it would also appear that the new female-centric Batgirl and Supergirl projects were cancelled, probably because they were going to be very unsuccessful. But overall, wokeness has lingered way longer than I thought it would. The question is, will Get Woke, Go Broke finally start to happen to such a degree that wokeness will become so unprofitable that it will eventually just stop being a thing in cinema and television? Will it finally actually happen for real? Well, perhaps not broke. Maybe broke is too strong a word. Perhaps after a few commercial failures and lackluster box office returns, and a few more disappointing TV series like Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Loki, and She-Hulk, there will be a realization that it's time to ditch the political stuff and just focus on telling great stories again. I think that's the way things were with Columbia and Sony Pictures when it comes to the Ghostbusters franchise. The unpopular all-female Ghostbusters 2016 was such a flop that the decision was made to drop the feminist angle and revert to making a film without any political bias. A film that would introduce a new cast while also reuniting the original. Ghostbusters Afterlife was the result, which generally pleased fans by paying a wonderful tribute to the original cast and of course the late Harold Ramis, who played Egon originally. This is proof that when Hollywood feels the financial pinch, unpopular and divisive political messaging quickly gets jettisoned in favour of a more crowd-pleasing mass appeal approach. So, are we beginning to see Get Woke, Go Less Profitable finally come to pass? Are we witnessing the end of wokeness in Hollywood? Maybe I'm getting a little ahead of myself. I won't be holding my breath. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.